Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk 360, where we unveil one bite at a time. Today we have one of a very special guest, who is Sanjay Mendis, blockchain and cryptocurrency strategist and CEO of Bitazza Sri Lanka and Mauritus. How are you doing, Sanjay? Good morning.
Hi, I'm good, Russell. Thank you. Excited to join this chat. Good morning.
And thank you so much for accepting my invitation and coming into the podcast. Hope all the viewers will enjoy today and get something new to their package of cryptocurrency and digital transformation. Uh, to start off, Sanjay, who is Sanjay Mendis? Let's start it from there.
Uh, I started my career in advertising and then I moved into tech with the initial launch of internet in Sri Lanka. And then after that, I founded my own company, 230 Interactive, which was doing digital strategy for companies like websites. Then it transformed into online marketing with Facebook, Instagram, all of that. Uh, as you know, if you're in tech, you have to evolve, right? So
Yeah,
actually this happened during COVID, and I basically was looking at transforming myself, right? What is the newer tech? Because new tech excites me. I'm not a technical guy. I'm a strategist. So then I moved into blockchain, right? Because I realized blockchain was going to be the next big thing in tech, and I was happy because at that time I was in Malaysia, and there was a lot of access, there was a lot of knowledge sharing there even during COVID. So that's how I got into blockchain. I did a few courses, qualified from INSEAD, and then I also was contacted by Bitazza. Bitazza is regulated crypto exchange in Thailand. Difference between regulated is it's managed by the SEC and the Central Bank of Thailand. Uh, Thailand was one of the first countries to regulate cryptocurrencies in the world, right? And so it was in 2019. And I joined them to actually grow their business in the region. We are looking to set up an exchange in Sri Lanka, looking at foreign inflows, not for Sri Lankans, but for inflows of foreign investments to the exchange, because India is the largest holder. So, and I also now set up Bitazza in the African region because that's also a growing thing. So that's a
yeah,
quick
yeah.
snippet of how I evolved into blockchain and crypto.
Very, very interesting. So I think I'll just start it off from here. Some of our viewers might not know what actually blockchain is and all these digital currencies. Let's just give a small brief on what blockchain is in like simple terms to start from there.
Yeah. So blockchain is simply a type of code, right? I can talk about it for actually hours, but simply put, right, it's uh, what happened with blockchain was Satoshi, who was the inventor of Bitcoin, right, came out with this white paper about how to basically ensure that we can work in a trustless environment, right? It's a very strange word to use, trustless, right? Because you
Yeah,
think trust is the big thing, right? But it is not. Now, what happens is if you look at banks, right? And I want to send you money, right? I have an account with, let's say, Bank One. You have account with Bank Two, right? I will, let's say, write to a check or I will do online transfer, right, to Russell. So then my bank will debit my account and my bank sends the money to your bank, right? And your bank will credit your account, right? So that's how it happens. So why it is a trusted transaction is because you don't know me, I don't know
mm,
you, but bank one and bank two knows each other and they take care of the transaction. That they will charge us a fee, right? Depending on the network. So anything when it comes to um, LCs and all of that. So what simply put, blockchain works in a trustless environment, right? There is no middleman. there is a set of servers, right? Which is in case of Bitcoin, the first basically has so many nodes which are called miners, right? So if I want to send money to you, you have a private wallet and a public wallet address. I have a private key and a public key, right? So that is my identity. I don't need to be known as Anjamendis or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I will I will say, okay, Russell's public key is this. I want to send 0.01 Bitcoin, right? So
Hmm.
then the network gets activated and they will check first whether Sanjay has zero point zero 0.01 Bitcoin because it's actually not in my wallet, it's in the network,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then it will check your address. If it's a Bitcoin address, it will just send it, right? That's it. So for doing this transaction, which is called mining, right, is a
yeah.
block. Now,
Block.
in this block, why it is a blockchain is that when let's picture a block, right? Now, this block has, let's say, if it's a Genesis block, this will be named 1 and 2, right? So the new block will be created 3 and 4, right? So in between, so this whole thing is connected to a lot of ledgers, right? So the ledger is shared by blockchain miners must be over millions now, right? With so much of
Yeah, yeah,
power, right?
yeah.
So that ledger gets updated everywhere, right? So the advantage of this is that if anybody wants to hack and take control of it, right, to change a block or do a new spin-off, right, what will happen is they have to take control over 51% of this mining power,
Oh,
which is now a near
oh.
impossibility. There is no computers in the world who can take that on because if you don't have more than 51% voting rights, a block will not get created, right? So you can do
So
a you can do
that fif
chains like
that 51% is a fixed amount.
yeah above
Yeah.
51%, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
you can do now. There had been communities who have built. If you look at the Litecoin chain, there are some chains that have gone off
Yeah,
Bitcoin, but again,
yeah.
it is using the same Bitcoin security and all of that, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
what happens is it was meant for you and I to transfer money without a bank, right? So
Hmm.
with that, then Vitalik came, started, but there was no contract. And then Vitalik came and then founded Ethereum. Ethereum came up with the concept of smart contracts. Right? So
Yeah.
that is, I will pay you if you do something for me. Right? Now, that if you do something for me is completely managed electronically. Right? There is no you sending emails to me or something like that. Right? So, for example, let's say uh, a car lease, right? Let's say it's electric. Every 22nd of the month, your car lease, right? Now, if your car lease does not get paid on the 22nd of the month, right, you can give instructions to, if it's like, let's say it's a Tesla, right? They can, once your car comes to your house, the car will not start because they can disable the car, right?
Oh, yeah.
Insurance, right? So what's happening is it's cutting. Like one of the largest case studies was the Egyptian port, which is one of the busiest ports in the world, right? They went into blockchain-based documentation not last year, year before, right? And the cost for documentation just went down by like I think 80%, and the speed right became a couple of seconds. When I was in Malaysia, HSBC started piloting LCs from Malaysia to Singapore, right? Because a LC from Malaysia to Singapore took 4 days to do a LC in the banking
Oh,
system.
yeah,
So
yeah.
HSBC piloted this because in Malaysia they do a lot of ground transport. A container goes from Malaysia to Singapore in 1 day, right? So the LC takes 4 days.
Hmm. 4 days.
So because of that, they transferred blockchain, and now
Yeah,
LC takes only six minutes, right? So
yeah.
that kind of innovation because of the trust. less environment it works. It's all on
True.
smart contracts. There's no human intervention, right? So that is simply what
What
blockchain
block?
is. But now in this blockchain, this information flows on this token, right? So
Yeah.
that is why the information, both Bitcoin, Ethereum Ethereum is the token on the network. So like that, that so many coins came. Now there are over 16,000 coins, which different purposes, right? There were meme
Yeah.
coins, there are all of that. But now, what happens is because of the quantum of those coins, right? Because now Bitcoin, there is a maximum value that the maximum a number of Bitcoins that will be mined, right? So Bitcoin suddenly became the new replacement for gold, right? So that is the big thing which happened where they never expected Bitcoin to go that much. It was
Yeah.
going at a
Yeah.
dollar and a half a few years back. But the value of it now, because Bitcoin is limited, right? There will be no so the other big thing, right? So 21 million Bitcoins will be there, and that's in the smart contract of Bitcoin. And without that, after that, it will get stopped. So now already close to 18 million bitcoins are mined, right? The last one will basically, I think, finish by 20, sorry, uh, right? So 21 million, right? There are about 1.4 million bitcoins left to be mined, right?
Oh.
So the every 4 years, these bitcoins go into a halving because, as I said, when the miners mine, they get a certain
Yeah.
amount of bitcoin. Initially, they used to get about 50 bitcoin. It's halved. Now the new halving is coming this year in April. Everybody is looking forward to it, and that is when uh, the bull run will start because that's a crypto cycle, right? So those are there will be after 2024 there will be 29 more halvings happening, right? So the last uh, Bitcoin will come in 2140, right? It might be a little earlier, but that is at this rate. That is when the last one will come, right? And it will happen. So the next halving is happening this year in April. So that's a little bit about blockchain and crypto and like how it became mainstream. And now, if you see, there is a lot more of excitement going on. There are more people on it.
Yeah.
So that's the uh,
Yeah.
in, quick intro.
Yeah. So, you mentioned, Sanjay, now you have been to the African countries and introduced it there and several other countries. So, how does this Bitcoin and crypto, this currency, how do you see the situation in that side of the world, and how do you compare it to our side of the world, like India, Sri Lanka? Where are we, and where do we stand, and like how do they adapt to
I
these
yeah,
cashless?
I would I would say South Asia is pretty backward when it comes to crypto, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Bangladesh, it's not legal, but the Maldives also it's not they haven't. But Sri Lanka, it is not illegal, but there are a lot of
Yeah.
restrictions, right? In
Restrictions.
India, they have changed their attitude. It is not. It is. They haven't said it's illegal, right? But they charge a tax, right, from transactions and wealth. If you get a earning, there is a wealth tax that they charge, right? Like a capital gains tax they charge. Uh, but if you look at, I would say the growth of it is in Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, uh, Thailand, as I said,
Yeah.
was the first to regulate it, and then you see a lot of activity happening in Dubai, UAE, because all of these countries now are trying to be like the crypto hub of of the world. Right now,
Well,
I work in Mauritius. Mauritius is looking at that being like a financial hub because they have a lot of trade with Africa. So they are looking at where
oh,
Mauritius has a very very sound legal system. So they are looking at inviting companies to come in and set up there, right? Nigeria is another country which has a lot of crypto traders. They were second to only the US in trading. India is the largest holder of crypto. So I think Africa is going because they're also very open on mobile wallet systems, right? Africa's banking system is very laid back because they can't reach most of these people, and so because of that, crypto is getting quite popular, and
Oh,
there's a lot
yeah,
of
true.
interest by the governments to regulate this and take this forward. So Sri Lanka, sadly, we still haven't. We are questionable in our stance on crypto and watching the world go by.
Yeah, just a small follow-up question to that. So, does Sri Lanka have a future with, cryptocurrency and blockchain and that technology? Will we see some changes happening in the near future, to your
Yeah.
knowledge?
So blockchain and crypto are two different things in
Yeah,
terms of
yeah,
the tech, right? I think Sri Lanka, there are some companies who are looking at blockchain-based solutions, right? It's pretty new, but as you know, we sometimes take a bit of time to catch up in that tech. India has gone way past, right? They're looking at tokenizing land, they're tokenizing a lot of stuff. So I think India is actually, because I meet quite a lot of new development companies popping up every day from India. Right? So they're quite advanced in that. Cryptocurrency in Sri Lanka, I really don't know, right? Because we have over 2 million users in the country, right? And they're using unregulated exchanges. If something happens, there's no regulation to protect them. So turning a blind eye and just letting this go isn't the way forward, right? Really supporting, putting uh, regulations for cryptocurrency and really having at least, like, for example, most of the countries, they haven't regulated it as such, but they are very strict on the users, AML, KYC, like in the banks, and that's the key thing, right? But that has to be regulated now. That's what we face in Thailand, where we have very strict AML, KYC regulations for our customers, right? Sometimes much more stricter than banks. So I think we have to start somewhere, which we still haven't really progressed in that side.
yeah. Also, Sanjay, I just wanted to add this up as well. So, if you use blockchain technology with businesses that you have seen or businesses that you have consulted, how do they use this tool, for the digital transformation of their business?
Uh, so more than business, it's happening in a much larger scale. Business-wise, logistics is using it, right? Because you can trace from, like, I've done projects, I've consulted to projects where you can trace a coffee bean to the coffee cup, right? Because of blockchain.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
just imagine that being done for Ceylon tea, right? Where when I drink a cup of tea, let's say in London, right, I can actually send a tip to the family which plucked the tea in Sri Lanka, right, via blockchain instantly, right? That's the power it has, and also a lot of it has been used for tracing, right? Because you will see a label saying made in Sri Lanka, right? Then it will go to UK. But how do you know whether it's made in Sri Lanka or it's a fake in China? Whether they have put made in
Yeah.
Sri Lanka and sent it off or fake in some other country? Ceylon tea, right? People mix Ceylon tea in Africa and then send it out and say pure Ceylon tea, right? So that kind of stuff, if you use blockchain, because blockchain can trace, right? Trace as in there is technology, SAP, and all of those also can trace. But the point is that traceability can get changed, right? Somebody can change the data. Whereas if it is in blockchain, you can't do that. You can't change the data because it is immutable, and that is the biggest advantage. So it will have, if you change the data, it will have a history of this data, right? Who changed it? Because you have login access. You will have a, so all of that. So that kind of security. So I've actually done the consulting for US meats export to other countries, like especially Japan. They're very strict whether this animal has got vaccinated for and got the vitamins and all of that.
Oh,
Now they're converting all that into blockchain, right? Not that they were not recording it. It could be recorded in a Excel sheet and say send it with the animal. But how do you know whether somebody has tampered with the data, right?
hmm.
So that kind of stuff is happening, and also transformation of cold storage like medicines, right? Uh, because now with IoT, you can put uh, uh, IoT can track the temperature of a freezer container, right? And that can get recorded. But let's say the freezer container went off and power went off and they didn't have it and they had about maybe 2 hours, 3 hours or no power in the container. Somebody can dock that, right? Whereas if you have this IoT transmitting and it gets picked up into the blockchain, right, you can't do anything, right? Because it's immutable. So that's where the whole thing, and the other big one, what I am involved in, was also called Flex ID, which is an identity-based solution, right? Where in
Yeah.
the banking system, sometimes people can't, like you go to a different country or you come from overseas and you come back to your own country, you don't have a house, you just living on rent. Now they ask for like a proof of residence. You'll have to give an electricity bill. Now, if you're on rent, electricity bill you can't give because it's under your but landlord's name, right? So there are a lot of stuff. So whereas if you have a blockchain-based identity, right, where you use now, India is looking at this, right, because they have the other identity tech because it's electronic other system, right? And now they are encouraging companies to develop blockchain-based solutions using that other, right? So there's a issuer who will issue the ID. At this point, it would be the national identity in Sri Lanka, the issuer. After that, if anybody wants to verify, what will happen is I will have an app. I go to a bank. I want to scan a QR code. The bank will say, okay, Sanjay Mendis, these are the details that it will come in my app. Right? Do you want to share these details? I will say yes, and these details will go to the bank. Right? So the KYC is done immediately, and there is no way that I can dock that. Like I can't have a false ID, right? I can't have
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
identities, right?
Hmm.
Because it is in the blockchain. So those are the things which are progressing pretty fast in this space.
Yeah.
Identity is one, tracing is one.
I think now we have come to a good point to talk about a system that you have developed, freedom.world. Let's talk about the story behind this.
Yeah, so Freedom World is actually a sub brand of Bitazza. Why we launched that is because we want to expose the power of blockchain to everyone, right? And if you look at the Freedom app, you can download it.
Yeah.
Freedom.world is the URL. It's in the App Store and also the Play Store. Uh, you can download it. You can create a community. You can develop your own token. You can put a price on it. You can, let's say, one token can be 1 rupee, right? So you can have a Tech Talk 360 token, right? And what happens is
Soon to be launched.
you can, right?
Soon to be
Good,
launched.
right? You can reward if people listen to your Tech Talk, and you can have a QR code coming in on it. They can scan it. You can airdrop coins to them, and based on the coins, you can tokens actually. Coins is the wrong name. Based on the tokens, you can give rewards, right? You can have leaderboards, all of that happening, and it's a community build, and you can plug and play. You can start it right now. It's so easy to use, right? So yeah, we use it in Thailand. Raja Ferries, which is the largest ferry network in Thailand, is using this, and their sales went up by 1,000% when they converted it into this thing. Recently, I went for a event in Thailand, which was called Mystic Valley. From the ticket to all the purchases was done on this app. It was very, very easy. Right now, I've gone to events here where you stand, like the music is going on, but you're standing in a queue to buy a drink, which is taking 20 minutes to be in the queue. Pay that, and then you have to go and collect it from somewhere else. Whereas if you have this, there's a built-in e-commerce store. I can buy what I want using this token, scan a QR code and the bartender can give me the drink, or I can give me food, right? Tickets. You don't need to stand in queues because you scan the QR code, you can go in, right? Because with your identity, you can't dock it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If my
True.
ticket has been used once, nobody else can come with that same ticket because it's all in the blockchain, right? And then these tokens, we are looking at where you can put a payment gateway where you can buy these tokens, right? It will not be cryptocurrency because for it to get cryptocurrency, it has to get traded, right? It has to be on an exchange. So this is like a
Yeah.
loyalty point, but the entire loyalty solution is done on the blockchain. Like for example, if I want to buy Sri Lankan Airlines air miles, I can actually spend money and buy the air miles, right? It's the same way, but because this is in blockchain, your transaction speeds, your security, everything is so good, and you can
Yeah.
launch it in a day.
Yeah. So, Sanjay, most of my viewers are from the youth, and so many might want to, join the industry of doing blockchain and that industry. So, are there any challenges, or how can they learn about this blockchain industry and how they can get a job maybe in the future?
There's a lot of opportunity, right? I have met a couple of young companies in Sri Lanka who are doing pretty well in blockchain development. Sadly, they're not developing anything in Sri Lanka, right? But they're doing a lot of work overseas. Game developers,
Yeah.
because there are NFT games which are happening and all of that. So there is a very handful of people on their own who are learning and moving forward, right? Like this was like the early days of open source. So there hasn't been a top-down push to go into blockchain, which I think should happen. Specifically, you're from Mauritus, right? Which has one of the best computer uh, streams, I would say, in Asia and even Colombo University. So I think you should get into this, right? Who drive this? This is why we want to bring in Freedom World. We want to do hackathons where children will be able to really use this, understand it, and really move forward. So that's the only way. Like you need to really get, but technology will catch up. But faster
Yeah.
we catch up, the better it will be.
I always ask this final question from everyone who comes to the podcast. It's just
Yeah.
finally one thing for Sri Lanka and the youth of Sri Lanka in whatever industry you work as. How is the future, and what is the last thing that you want to say for the country?
I would think embracing technology. Forget anything else for the youth. Embracing technology is the future, right? If you look at what AI and blockchain has brought in, like AI caught on much uh, faster than blockchain because everybody is now using ChatGPT and Google Bard, and now Google Bard changed the name also, this thing, and then
Gemini.
I think they said Gemini,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and Microsoft Bing. I use those quite a lot. You can so I think being ahead of technology, especially in this region, is a way for you to really look into the future, right? Because blockchain is just not even 10 years old, right? Adoption is not even 3 4 years old. So if you get into it now, you can't have somebody saying I've been in blockchain for 10 years. You can't, right? It's
Yeah.
2.5 years, 3 years. If exchange has been there for 3 years, it's like a lifetime, right? So my thing is get into it early because the top 20%, top 30% of the world is where you want to be. And that is where I think our youth should drive, right? Without going backwards and looking at uh, sustainable, the tech that is already there. Like you look at some of these tech, that you'll have an engineer who has 20 years of experience, right? So, whereas here, you can get into it now, and by the time the giants turn, you can have that lead. And I have personally met, and the payments are quite good. Like a developer in blockchain at the moment, annual salaries of about 140,000 $150,000, right? Because it's a handful of people who are blockchain
Yeah.
developers, right?
Yeah.
So that's a key advantage if we can grow, especially in the universities, Rust and Laravel, because software is software, right? You can learn it,
Yeah.
and most of these guys use this code. If we can get that, especially in the universities, I think we can really, really look forward to a much better future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanjay, for coming in for the podcast and sharing your insights. I mean, blockchain has been quite an interesting topic that I wanted to talk about, and I just wanted to, give that message out to the youth as well, what the future stands for. Thank you so much for coming in, and just some final words about the podcast as well.
Yeah. Thanks, Asal. Thanks for inviting me. Really glad to be here. And it's good that this was said again, as you said, what can youth do? This is what the youth can do, right? Really take this out to the world, get your peers to really open up into this, look at blockchain, look at AI. There's so much of opportunities there. And I think that's I think you are taking it, and it's good, right? TikTok 360 is taking this news to the world, and you can look at it, helping the youth to really understand this and get into it. And you can contact me anytime. I think you post my socials, especially LinkedIn. Reach out to me. I'll definitely help you guys to, really need any information or any global contacts. I'll be very happy to do that for you.
Thank you again. Thank you, everyone. This is another episode from Tech Talk 360 where we unveil one bite at a time.